Welcome, everybody. Hello, I am Kimberly Maska, and you are listening to Spiritual Biz with Kimberly Maska. And today I have an incredible guest with me. I have with me Mariangela Parrodi. The beautiful Italian name. Mariangela is the author of this beautiful book, The Mystic Woman's Compass. And we're talking about that today. There's some beautiful information about how to reach for your higher version of who you are. And so, Mariangela, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're both very excited about the book. We've been working on this together as you're publishing through Spiritual Biz
My
Publishing.
copy too.
Oh, we've got our copies in hand. It feels real now. We've been working on this for quite some time. So how does it feel to finally have the book in your hands, knowing that it's coming out?
Oh, it's so exciting. When it landed on my doorstep, I got really emotional because, as you said, it's been a couple of years in the making, and all the editing behind the scenes, and really bringing this product forward so that I could really help so many people, because I chose to write it for my clients that did have come to me with sensitivities and allergies. But when I started to work on them, I realized, so did they, that they had other abilities, healing abilities, and they wanted to learn how to work with that. But often they would hit a roadblock and they didn't know what to do. And that's where this guidebook definitely comes in, where people often give up at that point because they decide it's too hard, perhaps it's not what I'm meant to do, instead of it's the next growth edge they are meant to break through and lean into more of themselves. So this book really helps the journey of the awakening empath that feels like they're overwhelmed and struggling and taking on too much, and then starting to develop their abilities and how to strengthen all of their healing, psychic, intuitive, shamanic abilities, and eventually standing more in their light and power and helping others. So it's my journey of growth, and I really feel excited that I can support that. And so many people are really needing this guidebook, the steps that are needed so that they're working out what's holding them back, whether that's emotional, physical, or spiritual. And often ancestral things come up that they may not really understand, but is really holding them back because of generations of trauma that's been embedded in their cells. And through epigenetics, it's the stress is still in there, and often they don't know why things are so difficult for them, and they keep attracting more and more problems. But this is what this book shows, is those problems, those challenges are there to help them break through that. And it's like their beautiful treasured gifts are hidden behind all those challenges that I know for myself, speaking up, engaging. I was silenced as a child. My father was very dominating, and in my Chilean culture, it wasn't safe to speak. So there was something about me having to break through. I can't speak as a migrant child going from Chile to Australia. I can't speak in home, and then eventually becoming more of a speaker, and having launched my first book 10 years ago, being so scared, just in public and shaking and crying because of the fear factor of this is life-threatening for me. So that was one of my biggest challenges, is to learn how to speak and communicate. And even when I wrote the book, not feeling like I could write words, I'm not an author, all the negative dialogue really scattering my mind and hooking me into a powerless, helpless victim state of consciousness, and then getting to a belief, shifting my beliefs that I could, yes, I am an author. Yes, I can communicate. Yes, my words make a difference. And when people read the first one, it was transformative. They could really connect with my words, my raw emotion, and those stories helped them to change. And that's why this book, I feel, is even more powerful than my first one, because it breaks up how to do it, different questions, different processes and techniques that they can use so that they are, finding their own way, because the answers are in the book. Like if you're at crossroads, this is definitely a book that will help you to just break it down so you can trust your intuition and start accepting that you do have answers within you, rather than scattering it's like the shiny object. What will save me? What will help me? And I've found a lot of my clients are always, just looking for too many people and often being given the wrong answers because it's coming from them and not really specific to the person. So I think that's the biggest thing I help clients with, is to help them to trust their answers, to listen to their answers, and to uncover what it is within their own energetic field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just having this conversation today with my clients about that idea that it has to come from us. We've got to get out of that fear factor so we can trust ourselves. And I think that's a beautiful part of what you do with your clients, is allowing them to grow into who they are so that they can trust themselves and then begin to do the healing work. Because I know they come to you, like you said, they come, usually there's some sort of physical thing that they show up for, only to discover that they have these gifts. And so let's talk a little bit about that process, because that's a big light worker thing. When we don't realize that we're light workers, we come in, we have this contrast, whether it's physical or spiritual contrast that's appearing for us. And then we have to understand that that contrast is here to catapult us into what we're supposed to be doing. So let's talk a little bit about that and how you help your clients do that.
We all come in with a set of circumstances or conditions within the family that's like this little pressure cooker, all these beautiful opportunities of lack of communication, feeling isolated, I don't belong, some level of difficulty that births us into, okay, we've got to get out of this. We've come in with things from past lives, usually karma, that we've got to resolve. And because of that, this is our greatest gift. This is where I work with the shamanic element of fire. Our greatest gifts are hidden in our greatest challenges. So as we overcome those difficulties, and as you said, health issues, sensitivity to foods or chemicals, even I was just even thinking about my son this morning when he was little. We got a new lounge and it was sprayed with fire retardant. And so he had an asthma attack and nearly died because of those fumes. And all the doctors said, no, he wouldn't have had that. That doesn't happen. But because my son was like this little canary that took everything on, it was really life-threatening for him. So he came in with his little circumstances of severe eczema of, 3 years of crying, so unsettled, couldn't sleep, bleeding all over the sheets. And then the asthma developed as well. So I had it not like that, but most clients come in with some health challenge that they are meant to overcome. And in the search for the answers, it helps them to break through all these different layers of difficulties. So the search is part of their growth, looking at, what's holding them back. There might be certain modalities that they're really drawn to that is the tipping point that helps them to crack that shell to allow these beautiful golden abilities and treasures and gifts to emerge.
Beautiful. And I know one of your gifts also is to be able to connect with the earth and speak to the herbs, and they talk back to you so that you know how to help people through that as well. I think that's really fascinating. Not many people can say that the herbs speak to them.
When I changed from being a biomedical scientist, working in pathology and retraining in naturopathy, which was my true passion, learning about the herbs, I would get intuition about what herbs are specific for the person. They would speak to me, because, you might be given 5 different herbs for a particular condition. And I was just guided. This is the one that they really need, because it's again, trusting my intuition and the guidance that's coming in that would really make that miraculous change. Because you could have 2 herbalists making the same sort of formula, but it's all, for treating stress or allergies or hormonal issues. But I was able to sort of really pinpoint exactly what they needed. And working with the land, especially when I went to South America, really opened up those shamanic abilities. Returning when I was 40, trying to find my roots, understand how my parents lived and why they left because of all the political reasons. There I met shamans in Chile, Peru and Bolivia, and they helped me to really work with the land in a deeper way. And that felt like it was a whole new level of awakening, being there with, just in the vibration of the trees speaking to me, the rocks speaking to me, all these faces coming out of nature. And I was just, wow, it's just amazing. So I was able to bring all of that back and then apply that here to Tasmania, beautiful Tasmania, where I live. just surrounded by trees and really connecting. I think being in that environment really supports me much more than living in a city. So just, yeah, being able to see all the beautiful birds in my garden, and yeah, special.
Yes, and I will say this, that all of that internal work that you did is all chronicled in here. I think that's what I love about this book so much, is it's very personal. You definitely dive into your story about you growing up and how you came into your gifts, and your son who came in with his own set of circumstances to help you expand and grow too. So it's very personal. I think that's what's really beautiful about the book.
Yeah, it is. I realized that if I connect with my story, it helps people understand their issues as well. I started doing a lot of journaling. Might have been when I was 10. I was always journaling my dreams, or, my life is difficult, and eventually it sort of came to when my son was born, and I was starting to document that a lot more of what I tried with him, what didn't work, what did work. And then I translated some of those diaries into the work, so that I could then share that with other people. So that Finn just came in just so allergic to everything, but sensitive to spirits and attracting spirits all night. Even though I'd clear them, he's a little baby light worker, would attract them into his world. And as you said, it was the beginning of me really honing my skills into what is really going on. How can I help him? And by helping him, I help myself. I develop my abilities. I wouldn't be who I am without him. Oh, that feels a bit emotional now, how far I've come with all the challenges I faced with him. But it's just been life-changing. Everything that I've hit, all those walls I've hit with him, I was able to sort of open up more of my growth. And if you're listening, Finn, can't thank you enough.
That's beautiful how our children and families have such an impact on everything. And then one unique thing that I want to bring up too is you have this very strict science background, and then you've moved into that. And I think that's something for everyone to kind of latch onto, because a lot of times people think, well, I'm been doing X, Y, and Z in this matrix world. Like, how could I be a healer? But that's a major shift. If you can go from scientist to healer, anyone can make the shift. So talk about that transition.
I was working in pathology, sitting at the microscope looking for cancer cells, and I knew that if I stayed there, I would suffocate. Everyone had a dream. They were eventually going to escape. And I just knew that if I stayed there, it was contrary to my development. And I wasn't listening. I wasn't paying attention until I got RSI, which wouldn't heal. And I had to leave because I wasn't going to get better there. Because of that transition, I was able to I knew I was getting insights. Study naturopathy, and I'd push it aside. I didn't think I could do it as a mature age student. So when I did leave and start studying, I just blossomed. I thought, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And because of that, I was able to blend my mind, my intuitive mind, and my analytical mind started to come together. So I was able to get those insights. Both of them are needed because I was able to develop my medical intuitive abilities then. So it's the mind had my step-by-step processes, but the intuition would help to sort of connect the two in a better way. So the right and left parts of my brain were much more cohesive. So I was getting messages from both sides, and I was able to sort of integrate it, which was awesome. It was so good. Because as you said, I couldn't do that. I felt leaving that medical world behind and stepping into this, I did feel like a fraud. I felt like my peers would judge me. They would whisper behind my back, she's, lots of different names. And so I did hesitate. So I was sort of hidden for a while until I realized that people that started to come really wanted my intuitive abilities. And so that's where I was able to accept that more and stop separating them. It was me putting a block on they were always meant to be together. And as I worked with that and more people came, I realized, they're one thing, they're not separate. And when they came together, it was like it amplified. So when I stopped moving, when I moved out of that fear and realized this is what I meant to do, it all started to flow so much more. So I moved out of the way, my little fearful version of getting judged and criticized. I was able to manage that, do some healing around it so that I could step into, no, I have a wonderful blend. This is what makes me unique. My combination of intuition, naturopathy, my medical background, my shamanism, because I'm awakening all of my gifts within myself. And that's what I help my clients to do. And this is what that book does as well, is really support the change of developing all these beautiful, magnificent abilities and brilliance within each person.
Such a great point that it was all inclusive. It was all meant to work together. Because so many times I think as we're awakening and we begin to get the inkling that we're a light worker and we separate who we currently are from who we want to be, when it really is the same thing. I can say the same thing. I look back at my years on Wall Street, I would think that was completely separate, but then I had to understand, I bring it all together, the business and the spiritual part. And so I think that's just a really beautiful point for everyone to grasp onto, that we're all inclusive. It's all of us that comes together into this new way. It's just how we deliver it, truly, so that you can find your soul tribe. Beautiful.
Exactly. I think that's what I've realized, that I was able to develop my abilities, my unique set of abilities. And as I developed and grew, I was able to sort of keep transcending from, one specific body of work or people, that the clientele that I was attracting, that moved from being just in allergy or food focused to more stress and eventually to healing. So in my growth, I was able to sort of expand my current level of abilities, and then it sort of stretched out to a bit more and a bit more, so that where I am now, I'm sort of using so much more of my potential compared to where I was 30 years ago, where I was just suffering and crying, and the world was really lonely and empty. So I think that's the biggest understanding, is that growth of, the more I pushed myself to break through those fears, those barriers, I was able to just keep growing more of who I was. So it's just really exciting. Yeah.
And especially since that's what you show your clients. And I will let everyone know again in the book, The Mystic Woman's Compass, that there is so much amazing content in here. You have given so much in here, that you have exercises. It really is like a workbook on how they can find themselves. Talk a little bit about what inspired you to put all this amazing information in here for them.
I've realized that we learn from different ways. People are kinesthetic or visual or auditory. So this book covers all of that, because I have free gifts in there as well that they can log into later, and, to watch some videos about setting up their medicine space. Learning how to develop your abilities has to come from different multifactorial elements. So listening to meditations, applying things within the medicine space. I've covered lots of different ways people learn, and so that they're tapping into their intuition through journal questions, oracle cards, doing the different processes. I've just covered lots of different ways that I already teach my clients to do now, and I know that it works. So I'm excited to share that with the greater community, so that they are changing, because light workers, healers are really needed right now. And I feel that I never had a guidebook. This is what's needed, because some things work for others and some things are different for different people. So I've given a broad range of different techniques that, if you just take one piece from each chapter, you'll really transform by the end of reading this book.
Beautiful. Well, everybody, so again, it is The Mystic Woman's Compass by Mariangela Parrodi. And you guys can pick it up now. It is available. It is life-changing. It's just, there's so much in there. There really is. So thank you, Mariangela, for taking the time to A, be with us here, but B, share your personal story in this book. I think is going to help so many different people. And other than the book, if they're looking to find you and connect with you, where would they find you?
alchemia.com.au, alkymia.com.au. Love you to reach out so that I can support you on your growth.
Lovely. And that link will be posted down below. So thank you everybody for joining us. Again, I'm Kimberly Maska. This is Spiritual Biz with Kimberly Maska, and we will catch you soon.